So all of a sudden, this fee that we didn't know exists has $500 of collections fees on top of it from the homeowner's insurance, and it has $1,000 of legal collections fees. So with that being the case, you get a $2,500 bill out of the blue for something that should have cost $1,000. When you buy properties all over the country like we do, right now we're buying in 7 major U.S. markets. When you're buying all over the country, homeowners associations represent a unique challenge. The reason for that is there is no one central governing authority for homeowners associations. Now you might ask, well, shouldn't there be? Clearly there should be. The fact that there is a entity out there who can put a lien on your property and then foreclose on your property and take your property from you that doesn't really answer to anyone is a little insane. It's crazy making in my world. If I was the king of the universe, I would make homeowners associations subject to the division of real estate in the states in which they operate. That would be a really simple, pretty straightforward solution. Hey, the division of real estate in your state gets to know a couple of things about your HOA. Number one, when you go to buy a new house, you're going to be able to go one place and find, is this house in an HOA? Right now, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You can look all over the place. And Bedrock buys properties all over the country. We've helped clients buy over 5,000 properties nationwide. And the truth is, every once in a while, our best efforts in our vetting just doesn't lead to, is there an HOA or not? The realtors probably don't know. The appraisers many times don't know. We talked to 5 different appraisers when we realized that this was a problem that kept coming up. And we just couldn't get an appraiser to be like, hey, this is how you know. It all comes down to a linchpin called seller's disclosures. Now, when you buy a house, when you make an offer, the first thing you get from the seller is like, here's what I know about my property. Here's what you get to know about my property legally that I'm required to disclose. For example, if there's a graveyard on my property, there's a place that says, is there a graveyard? Because there's some rights to return and rights to see graves even after a property is transacted. That's interesting. There's a disclosure to say, hey, my roof is this old. Were there any mold issues? Have there been any termite issues? If you know something as a seller and you get a seller's disclosure form and you completely like, no, there was no termites, and they find out after the fact, that's grounds for fraud. It's ground for someone to come after you and be like, hey, you misrepresented this property knowingly. It had termite issues. It had termite remediation. It's had consistent water problems. It's had consistent mold problems. And you said it didn't have any of those problems on your seller's disclosure statement. So it's an effort to be honest one with another. All right? The weakness of this comes in with HOAs specifically, because in the seller's disclosure packet, you say, hey, is there an HOA? Yeah, here's how I contact them. Here's a copy of their covenants, maybe. Or at least you can get in contact with the person. The weakness of this whole process coming down to kind of seller disclosure is, well, what if it's an inherited property? What if this was mama's property? Right? We bought a property recently in Charlotte, North Carolina from the state because both parents had passed away and a 6-year-old inherited this property. And the 6-year-old didn't have any use for this piece of property. So the state said, hey, we're going to put this in trust. We're going to have a lawyer sell the property at market value. And we're going to just hold the money until the 6-year-old is able to take care of it or whatever they were doing. So we were talking to a lawyer who had been state appointed this whole time, right? Because the 6-year-old wasn't going to sell this house. And so with that being the case, we were talking to this lawyer back and forth, and the seller's disclosures came across and said, hey, we don't know jack about this property. The 6-year-old has no answers here. The parents are gone. Like, we don't know anything. And you get that a lot. You get not available. NA. Whereas it's like, hey, I don't know about this property. Now, we buy enough properties, so sometimes those don't knows turn into, hey, it turns out there wasn't an HOA here. But because the HOAs don't report to anybody, and because there's no way to search for the HOA, literally the only way to do this diligence would be to have someone go to the market and to walk around and knock on doors in the neighborhood when we're about to buy one of these properties and say, hey, do you have an HOA here? And to get someone to do that, it's going to be, $200 to $1,000, depending on who we use. Do we use a paralegal? Do we use a gig economy worker? Kind of get an Uber driver just to drive around and ask some questions. It gets complicated. Who are we going to use exactly for that? Are they representing to our firm? How are we going to make sure they're providing reliable information? We're buying in a bunch of different markets. Like, oh yeah, we use that one guy in Memphis. Who we're going to use in Jonesboro, Arkansas? It just gets nebulous, right? And it gets expensive. It's like, hey, just so you know, our diligence went up by $500 to $1,000 on every single property. So now my fee to you has to go up by $500 to $1,000. And in all honesty, the stealth homeowners insurance occurs so infrequently that maybe slapping another $500 fee on everyone doesn't actually make sense, because it's just a really infrequent problem. But when the problem does occur, it is big, gross, and hairy. It is disgusting, because what happens if you can't figure out if there's an HOA on a property? And if there's anyone watching this video that's like, oh, that's easy, you just go to this website, please let me know. For the love of all that is holy, let me know. We have never been able to see a solution to this. We have looked. We have talked to dozens of realtors. We have talked to lawyers. We have talked to appraisers. You may think you know, and if you do, cool. You win $5, courtesy of Jeremy Watson. If there is some repository, I don't think there is. I don't think it works like that, because no division of real estate is over these HOAs, which is part of the problem. So with that being the case, you go and you buy your property, right? Let's say there's a stealth HOA. Let's say it's mama's house or an inherited house or buying from a 6-year-old, and the state has the lawyer in place, right? With that all being the case, you buy a good investment property. You're happy. You place a tenant. You're off to the races. Everything is good. What's going to happen on the side of that HOA is something that we've seen happen probably 4 times over the past 250 houses. Let's say it's about 3% of the time. What happens is the HOA doesn't know you exist, really, and you don't know the HOA exists. So the first of the month, as soon as that transaction occurs, the HOA is just going to send their normal HOA dues. It's $50, right? The tenant is going to see a letter come in to Jeremy Watson LLC, and they're going to say, hey, it's a federal crime for me to open this piece of mail, and they're going to throw it straight in the trash, right? And the HOA is not going to get paid their $50. And so they're going to slap a $25 late fee on that, and then the next day it's just going to run the things again. It's going to auto send out again. Maybe they've got some property management firm managing their HOA billing. Maybe it's one step disconnected from the HOA, and so it just goes out again automatically. No one's really looking at it. So there's a $50 fee plus the $50 fee in arrears plus the $25 fee for having to reprint and resend, non-payment, whatever. That second $50 fee hits, and the tenant throws it straight in the trash, right? And that keeps on going. Every single month, there's a $25 late fee, there's a $50 charge, and that goes for 12 months, right? And eventually, someone on the HOA is like, hey, this property, Jeremy Watson LLC, hasn't paid any of their HOA fees at all, because Jeremy Watson LLC didn't know there was an HOA. With that being the case, they eventually say, well, we got to send this property to collections, and we got to file a lien, and maybe we'll have to foreclose on this property. And at that point, let's say it's 10 months in, we're talking $500 of HOA fees and $250 of late fees. So $750. That bill's just going up and up and up. That we don't know exists, right? Because there's nowhere you can go and be like, well, was there an HOA on my property? Cool. Here's the covenants. Here's the officers. Here's the HOA. Here's what's due. Here's who you call. That should be somewhere. It should be somewhere on a division of real estate website. It should be searchable. This should be so easy. Hey, I'm thinking to buy 555 Mulholland. Is there an HOA in the division of real estate? You should just be able to go and Google it. It's like, hey, the HOA in that subdivision, this house falls under the Mulholland 73 subdivision. Here's their covenants. Here's their officers. Here's their fees. And you should be able to know that with such ease, especially for an entity that can file a lien and take it in foreclosure. So anyways, I digress. Common sense fails us all. So with that being the case, you get this random fee, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. These fees keep adding to those random fees. And then suddenly, at my home, where I live, I get a piece of mail out of the blue that says, hey, Jeremy Watson, I work for Dewey, Cheatham & Howe Law Firm. We have been retained to collect this HOA due for you. Just so you know, it's been 20 months. This $50 a month is now $1,000, and it's been 20 months. The extra $25 fee is now $500. It's $1,500, and our collection fee is a balmy $1,000. And so all of a sudden, this fee that we didn't know exists has $500 of collections fees on top of it from the homeowner's insurance, and it has $1,000 of legal collections fees. So with that being the case, You get a $2,500 bill out of the blue for something that should have cost $1,000. Now, how did all of this mail never come to me? I was the owner this whole time. Jeremy Watson LLC owned the whole time. How did I never see any of this mail? You sent 20 pieces of mail to me, right? Certainly someone, somewhere along the process would have been like, I don't think this mail's getting to him. He barely bought the house. It's in an LLC. Maybe we should look at like who owns the LLC. And there's a little something in my industry where you can look at an LLC and figure out who owns it called a skip trace. It costs 15 cents. There's like a million sites that will say, hey, this person owns the LLC or this person owns the house, and their primary residence isn't in that state. It's in California. And so Jeremy Watson out in California isn't living there. And within 5 seconds, they'll be like, hey, the reason you're not getting paid is because they're not seeing these bills. Now, every HOA in the world, apparently, is far too incompetent to do that simple skip trace. Or they don't have any motivation whatsoever in the world to do a simple skip trace. What they have motivation to do is to keep sending bills and keep doing $25 fees on top of it until they send you to a $1,000 collection. Keep in mind, they have unlimited godlike authority when it comes to HOAs and these fees and these dues, and they answer to nobody because they don't answer to the Division of Real Estate in their state. They don't answer to anyone in their state. And so with that being the case, this random dude or dudes in your community can file this lien, threaten to take your property, and they send the $2,500 bill to the collections company. Now, lawyers, first thing they're going to do is they're going to go pay 15 cents. They're going to charge me $50 for it. And then they're going to go and they're going to run a skip trace and they're going to be like, hey, Jeremy Watson LLC doesn't even live in that state. Jeremy Watson lives in California or Greenville or wherever the crap. He lives somewhere else. So they're just going to send the first letter from the lawyer is going to come straight to me. Voila, you've got a $2,500 bill just because you've never paid it. And that is the first thing you will know that there's an HOA on this property because there are some open holes. And again, it only happens like 1 to 3% of the time when you buy out of market. And so it doesn't make sense to go spend the $500, $1,000 in every single market. Now, we've considered having our property managers walk and knock. But getting property managers to do freaking anything is impossible, especially when it comes to, hey, we need you to walk and knock and make sure there's not an HOA. So what we did is one step beyond that. What we do is we file a UPS forwarding address form for our clients, right? We have them notarize it and we file it for them and we say, hey, for the next 6 months, forward all mail to Jeremy Watson LLC to Bedrock. Forward all mail. And so when we realized there was this problem, there was kind of no way around this problem and that we didn't want to spend $500 to $1,000 for walk and knock. We said, no, what we can do is we can just file with the USPS and we can have them forward the mail to us for the first 6 months. And in the first 6 months, we'll certainly see a stealth HOA fee if it exists. And so for $0, we were able to solve the problem. Feel free to use that yourselves in the future. If you don't want to get slapped with a stealth HOA, file a forwarding mail form with the USPS. Done. Didn't cost a penny. Took some time, took some energy. We had to understand there was a problem before we can solve a problem. But Bedrock, our thing is solving problems intelligently and keeping the prices as low as we can so our clients get a good experience. Now, when you call the law firm and you say, hey, this is a mistake because we never knew there was an HOA because of all these things, legitimate reasons. We never knew there was an HOA. We shouldn't have been charged these late fees all the time. We never knew there was an HOA. We shouldn't be charged your $1,000 fee. Our bad. We'll happily pay the original fee. The law firm will say, you can suck it. We negotiate with no one. We've been hired to collect this fee. We have the authority to foreclose on your property. You can absolutely suck it. We're not taking this fee down 1 penny. And you're like, well, I'll go talk to the HOA to make sure that they realize that they kind of made a mistake here. And they're like, good freaking luck with that. Because as soon as you get on the phone with the HOA president, they're going to be like, yeah, I don't really care. Couldn't care less. I answer to no one. I am an untethered God King answerable to no one. I could not care less that we, through like kind of half negligence, didn't bother to even run a 15-cent skip trace. You can deal with it. And so you just get stuck with a law firm who will do nothing, who can foreclose, and an HOA who will do nothing, who also can foreclose. And so you end up with this horrible situation where you just kind of got to deal with it. I just got to pay $2,500 where I should have paid $1,000. And all of a sudden, my pro forma's off because I didn't think there was an HOA, but it turns out it's $50 a month. And so my nets are down $50 a month. And it turns out that I've got to eat a $2,500 bill out of the blue. So yeah, Bedrock looks like an idiot. The owner looks like an idiot. We realized pretty early on in the process, this is a huge problem. And so we figured out a solution. We just file with the USPS and forward the mail. This is one of literally hundreds of things you have to manage when you own rental real estate. The biggest lie people ever tell about owning rental real estate in my space and the turnkey space where they're helping you buy a piece of rental property is if you hire a property manager, they'll just take care of everything. Bull freaking crap! I have never had a property manager offer to do any of this crap. And when I get a random bill out of the middle of nowhere, they're like, yeah, that sometimes happens. Totally useless when it comes to this. This is business management. You as an owner are going to have to deal with this stuff. Or you're going to have to hire a team who can deal with this stuff. That's what we do at Bedrock. We love doing it. We love thinking up good, interesting, clever solutions, systemic solutions. If you enjoyed this, feel free to go watch our video. They're either lying or incompetent. Both are bad, which talks about all of the other things property managers do not take care of under any circumstance. I'll put that right here. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good day.